Well, it is almost that time of the year. The Kentucky Derby is almost upon us. Saturday, May 1st. Best way to play the Derby, best way to play all of the races is through NYRA If you're not a member, head over to NYRABets.com. Use the promo code Derby25. We'll match up to $200 your initial deposit and give you a free $25 Kentucky Derby bet. Kentucky Derby, an interesting race, as interesting as it always is. The horse to beat, at least the morning line favorite, that's Essential Quality. We'll head over to Keeneland and look at his last prep race. That was the Bluegrass Stakes, where he narrowly defeated Highly Motivated. The thing about Essential Quality is he's tractable. If the pace is slow, he can control towards the front end. If the pace is faster, he can rate and still finish. It is a very, very admirable quality. We'll see if Highly Motivated can employ the same tactics. Because of the slow pace here, he was forwardly placed, and he probably is better sitting a little bit off and making a closing run. My problem with Essential Quality is, and he can absolutely win this race, but he's going to be 2-to-1-ish because there's at least $2 million being bet by Mattress Mac, which makes him an underlay in this race. And he's a horse that's always gotten perfect trips, and you can't count on that in a 20-horse Kentucky Derby. His speed figures also have not particularly improved throughout his career. He seems to have been a very precocious horse that is still talented enough to win this race, but he has not taken that step forward. In the Kentucky Derby, at least one or two horses, if not more, will take a step forward, and I'm just not confident Essential Quality can do that. I don't know that Highly Motivated can do it, but I know that Chad Brown, with his 5 Kentucky Derby starters, has gotten the best out of them, making their third starts of the year. Practical Joke, a horse who couldn't get a mile and a quarter to flatbed, ran an impressive 5th. Good Magic, making his third start, stepped forward and finished second to Justify. He also has a 4th place finish in the Kentucky Derby with a horse whose name eludes me, but a horse who actually ran much better, making his third start of his career. That would be Normandy Invasion, who arguably should have won. He may have run the best race. So I think that Highly Motivated is dangerous to take that step forward. We'll see if he can do it. He's also going to be a much better price than Essential Quality, and if he could come that close to him in the Bluegrass, why wouldn't you take 3 or 4 to 1 on 3 to 4 times the price on him than you will get on Essential Quality, when I'm not convinced there's a significant difference in their talent levels? We'll head down to Santa Anita and we'll take a look at Rock Your World, the only horse coming in this race off a 100-buyer speed figure in his last start. Obviously, he's a dangerous horse. But for a horse that raced in the turf in his first 2 starts and then wired a field at Santa Anita, he has never had dirt kicked in his face. Is he going to wire the field in the Derby? Maybe he will, but I have a feeling that there are other horses that will be more forwardly placed, so I'm concerned about that. He also rode a gold rail in the Santa Anita Derby, and riding a gold rail gave him a huge advantage. It was a big disadvantage to Medina Spirit. He raced 3 wide the whole way, and it's not the only good race the Medina Spirit has run. He ran that tremendous race in the Robert Lewis when he held off Hot Rod Charlie, despite the fact that he set a very wicked pace. Then he was kind of running for his stablemate behind Life is Good in his next start in San Felipe. He's also run just behind Life is Good in the Sham. I think the Medina Spirit has the races to back up that he's good enough to win this race. He's also got the right trainer. And I employ the same handicapping tactics that I use in general in the Kentucky Derby. I'm betting against a horse that rode a good rail, and I'm betting on a horse that was wide, and that is Medina Spirit. Let's head down to Gulfstream Park and take a look at Known Agenda beating Soup and Sandwich. Soup and Sandwich is a horse that can be part of the pace, and I wouldn't discount his effort in the Florida Derby. I thought he ran very well. But Known Agenda was an easy winner here. I don't worry about Known Agenda drawing the rail. He showed in the Florida Derby he can sit behind horses on the inside, eat some dirt, and still finish. Also, with the smaller gate, without 2 separate gates, he's off of the rail a little more than we've seen in many past Derbies. I don't think that's a reason to play against him. My problem is I don't know if he's really good enough to win this race. I don't think his last race, the Florida Derby, came out of nowhere, because I think there's an argument his prior figure, the Beyer figure of 82, could have been as much as 10 points higher. But he didn't take that big a step forward. He's got to take another step forward. Doesn't hurt to have Todd Pletcher in your corner. I just don't want him at a particularly short price. I think he needs to really improve. Let's take a look at Hot Rod Charlie beating Midnight Bourbon and Obesos down in the Louisiana Derby. 1 mile and 3/16, the farthest any of them have gone. I'm not sure what to do with Hot Rod Charlie. I'm not going to argue with people that like his chances in here. Doug O'Neill, his trainer, has shown, winning 2 Derbies, he knows what it takes. My problem is that he wasn't able to beat Medina Spirit, despite Medina Spirit getting a much tougher trip than him in a prior race. That was his first race as a 3-year-old, so maybe he needed to step forward. Another problem, he was able to wire the field to run this big race. I don't believe there's any chance he's the speed in this Kentucky Derby. Will he be as effective sitting behind horses? I question that possibility. As far as Midnight Bourbon, he shows up in all his races, so I don't want to discount him. More on him. Oh, Bezos, a lot of people will like him to pick up a pieces if they think the pace gets hot. Maybe it'll happen. I won't argue with that. Don't think he's good enough to win, but wouldn't be shocked to see him get a piece of the purse. We'll talk a little about Midnight Bourbon as we head back one race, the Risen Star, and we look at Mandaloun running an effort in the Risen Star that had he been able to repeat it in Louisiana Derby, he could be one of the favorites in this race, but he didn't. He ran a real clunker in the Louisiana Derby, and as well as he ran in this race, the Risen Star, I can't use him. I'm not taking a horse off that bad race, but listen, if you like him off the Risen Star, this race makes him competitive. His other races do not. As far as Midnight Bourbon, he is the only horse that wintered down in Fairgrounds that showed up with an A effort in every single one of the Derby preps. He's an honest horse. I think he can be forward in this race. I wouldn't be shocked to see him somewhat near the lead. I think Midnight Bourbon's a player and a horse that I want to use at a big price. If Mandaloun wins, I lose. Another horse, if he wins, I lose, is Superstock. We'll show him beating Concert Tour and Caddo River down in the Arkansas Derby. Now, Caddo River is not going to run in this race. Superstock, I mean, Ricardo Santana could not have given him a more perfect ride in this race. Tucked in behind two duelers, comes out in the stretch and gets it done. And under perfect circumstances, he gets a 92 buyer. Yeah, he'll probably improve with that. He's got the right trainer for that. But even under perfect circumstances, he didn't run a figure that's within 3 or 4 lengths of the best horses. And he is unlikely to get the same perfect circumstances in this race. That was the day for him. If he wins the Kentucky Derby, I'll be ripping up my tickets. Let's go to the Wood Memorial, a race that's also going to include Bourbon Strong, who got into this field. Not Bourbon Strong, excuse me, Brooklyn Strong. I'll be Bourbon Strong by the time the Kentucky Derby is run. We'll take a look at Bourbonic and Dynamic One running 1-2. Maybe Brooklyn Strong will get back to his good race. He did run well in the Remsen, the sloppy track. Hey, Bourbonic, tremendous story with Kendrick Carmouche. Great ride by him. And I think what they found with Bourbonic is that he is best making one run from well back in the pack. They'll try to do it again in the Derby. We'll see if he can negotiate 20 horses and he can get faster in doing it. Good story, unlikely winner. As far as Dynamic One, I think he's not the most impossible horse to take a real step forward, because I thought he ran very well in the Wood, and it was a big step forward for him. He was wide the whole way. He attended the pace. He ran the best race. I don't really like his chances, but Jose Ortiz will give him the right ride, and Dynamic One is not impossible if you're looking for some long shots. Let's go down to the Tampa Bay Derby and Helium. Well, he rose high that day, getting the job done over Hidden Stash. I bet Hidden Stash, and he did a fine impersonation of an equine chandelier. And then he came back at his next start in the Bluegrass and showed what happens when he meets some much tougher horses. They haven't run Helium since the Tampa Bay Derby. Not like Mark Casse. He does not skip races. One thing about Mark Casse, he runs his horses. These horses are just too slow to be competitive. Helium was a surprise that day. He would be even a far bigger surprise in the Kentucky Derby. Then we'll look at the prep that everybody uses when they like the horse out of it to say, Animal Kingdom won out of this race on synthetic. Why can't these horses win? Okay, we'll take a look at Like the King and Sainthood. Sainthood ran pretty well with a little bit of trouble to get second, and he's one of the 4 starters for trainer Todd Bletcher. I don't know what says about his dirt races say he's even remotely competitive here. I wish him the best of luck. Like the King, when he ran on dirt, he got a 63 buyer and a 38 buyer. Seems to me he improved dramatically when put on synthetic. I think they're running this race in the wrong surface for him, so unless they resurface Churchill Downs to a synthetic surface sometime between the taping of this on Wednesday morning and when they run the race on Saturday, I think Like the King and Sainthood are both a little behind the 8 ball, but you knew that. They're long shots if you like them. One final horse to take a look at is King Fury, who emerged from the pack. He kind of emerged from the fog, making his first start as a 3-year-old. I mean, talk about a setup. He got this insane, wicked 3-horse speed duel, fast pace, and he ran big. Got a 95 buyer. This was an excellent performance by him, but he did it on a sloppy track that he's not going to get 3 weeks later, thankfully, at Churchill Downs. The weather conversation is stopped. The weather is expected to be perfect. I don't see him being good enough, and frankly, he's one of 3 horses making his second start of his 3-year-old year, the Kentucky Derby. Let's hope that's not a trend, but if you like King Fury, he did run well, but he got a perfect trip on a wet track. The Kentucky Derby, it always is an exciting day. Looking forward to it. My picks? I like Medina Spirit. Picked him on top in this race, the number 10 Medina Spirit. Picked him up over Highly Motivated. Essential Quality, I don't want to leave him out. I picked him third. And Midnight Bourbon is my fourth choice. Can't wait for the Kentucky Derby. Best way to play it, and the place I know I'll be playing it, is NYRA Head over to NYRABets.com. If you're not a member, use the promo code Derby25. We'll match the $200 of your initial deposit and give you a free $25 Derby bet. Best of luck in this weekend's Kentucky Derby.